Hey everyone, it's late Sunday evening. I just wanted to get a quick recording in, so sorry for the unprofessional look, but sometimes this is just how it is. Um, so last 2 weeks, I've started talking about, for my Automation Mondays, I started talking about this defect form using Google Forms and Notion to basically create an automation. This form is very simple. You can make this as elaborate as you want, but this is kind of a starting point for you to build out that automation. I'm using a defect form because um, it's simple. It's something that you can easily relate to. Um, Another way that a person can use this system is collecting client information. You can use it as a for your CRM. Basically, you create the Google form, and then you add in the automation through that Google form, and then it connects to Notion. Now, in this video, I'm not going to go in depth. I'm going to attach an article that goes more in depth and kind of walks through the script that I built out and allows you to get a better understanding of it. But I am going to touch point on some things that you are going to need to keep an eye on and where you can find specific information. Now, at the time that I'm recording this video, the API keys are found within connection in Notion. However, they do move quite a bit, so definitely check the Notion development documentation if you are going to do this yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into this. Okay, so we're going to start with the defect form. This is a little bit different regarding what we originally started off with. Again, I kept it very simple. We're going to do submitted by. This is where the person who's submitting the ticket, the defect title, description, and then steps to generate the defect. Again, this doesn't need to be used specifically for capturing any defects. You can use this as a client gathering information so that it connects to your CRM that would live in Notion. Um, so you've created your form. I've been testing this, so you're going to see a bunch of data in here that's irrelevant. I just want to show you where you can find your sheets. So after you've created the after you've created the form, there's going to be this Google sheet that's generated. That's going to be where all of your responses can be found. As you can see, I've been testing. I removed a bunch of non-essential information. So these were my last two tests items that I ran through to make sure that the automation was actually working. Um, so that gets you the responses. So you have your form and then your Google Sheet. Now, when it actually comes to building out the automation, what you're going to need to do is go to extensions and then go to app script. Now, I've already gone the script already outlined here. Again, there's going to be an article that's going to be attached below um, in this video or post. So you should be able to walk through if you want to go ahead and try doing this yourself. Also, please reach out. I'm more than happy to help walk you through this information and help wherever is needed. The API keys that I'm showing here, I will be deleting these later this evening, but I just want to kind of give you what it looks like. So both of these are your Notion keys. So this is for the actual integration of Notion, and then this is for your database. We'll go into those in just a second. This is your form map. So these are your properties. So essentially everything that is mapped out here, you don't need timestamp. Timestamp is just auto-generated, but you are going to need submit, defect, defect description, and um, uh, steps to generate the defect. I'm going to go ahead and pause here and we're going to go over to Notion. So if you haven't already done it, go ahead and set up your Notion. Go ahead and sign up for it. You can read through the documentation on Notion on how to kind of get started. Um, just kind of a really high level. Uh, you can add a new page, and then you can either add it as empty or you can add an empty database. I would just select empty database. That way, then you can just jump right in. Another high level thing, when you once the database is generated, this is going to be name where it says submitted by. That'll be name. That's a default for any Notion database, and you will actually need to keep that. That's not something that you can delete. And then there'll be a second column here. Um, so those are your two defaults that will appear when you're setting up your database. All of these are text properties. You how you access these properties is you just click this plus sign, and then you have all of these different types that you can use. You can get very elaborate with these with different types of formulas. I'm not going to go into that here. You can use ChatGPT, or you can look in Notion's developers documentation. They have really great documentation. I would suggest that if you want to get more extensive on any creations of like formulas or anything, you take a look at that. Again, another option is that ChatGPT is really a good resource. You just have to be very specific on how you ask it so that it gives you the correct formula that you're looking for connected to the correct property. So basically, what will end up happening after you've created these properties, um, your user will fill out the form, and then this information will get filled out. Um, as a side note, make sure that your properties are a one-to-one comparison. So in the beginning, I had mentioned you don't need time stamped. That's auto-generated through Google Forms. My submitted by, I just replaced my submitted by with the name column that was already available. Um, Whatever you set up in your form, make sure that, for example, if your submitted is lowercase, make sure that it's lowercase. If there's a space between submitted and by, make sure that there's a space, and be very specific that there's no spaces in the front or the back. If you do have that, make sure that you're adding that into um, that it's flowing through each of the different ecosystems so that it is aligned in the Google form, it is aligned in the script that you're creating, and then it follows through into your Notion database. That's my only tidbit that I would suggest, because if you're running into any errors, check that first to make sure that your properties are again are that one-to-one match. And from here, we'll go ahead and walk through our automation by filling out the form, and then you'll see what our output is. Okay, guys, now that we've made it to the form, sorry, it's getting really late, so I'm like gasped a little bit right now. Okay, so right now we're going to fill out the form, but before we fill out the form, let's look at the defect response. This is our database, nothing in it. Let's go ahead and fill out our information. We're going to say Megan, defect title, hello world one. I'm going to say hello world first defect reported. And then I'm going to say look at vertical. Okay, so that's my first one that I'm going to submit. Okay, let's go ahead and submit one more. I'm going to say from Janu. Janu's my puppy, and she's really cute. So she's going to be the next one that's submitting this defect. And then I'm going to say hello world two. And then this is the second defect that is reported. And then I'm going to say, check out my Awesome article. Oops, might help if I spell awesome right. And then we're going to submit it. Okay. Now let's go ahead and go over to our database, and you can see that the automation worked from Google Forms and it took it into our Notion database. So everything's there. So before we close out, I do want to talk about where you can find your API keys. Again, all of this is going to be in the documentation, but I do just want to touch on it so you know where to look for them. Um, for your integration secrets key, you're going to go to settings, connections. Now, as you can see, I already have one. I have, like I mentioned before, I have supper going on, so that's what that is. And I'm not gonna edit it out because this is gonna take a long time to edit. So, defect log, I already created one. But when you actually are creating a fresh integration, you're going to go into develop or manage integration. So connections, develop or manage integrations. That's going to take you into this page. And then you're going to select new integrations, fill out all that information. Again, there's great documentation in the Notions developers website. So look in there on how to fill that out. Um, when you actually create your integration, there will be this access tab. So before we get into the access tab, go into configurations. Your secrets key will be located right here. That's where you're going to find your secrets integrations tab. Now, for your database and your integrations to actually connect, you need to go into access, and then you're going to go into edit access, and you're going to search for the database. So defects, defects response is our database name. So you're going to select that. And then once it's selected, it'll show down here, and then you're going to say save. And as you can see, it's already connected. So now when it comes to your actual defects database, so after you've created the defects database, make sure that you are actually in the actual defects response page. If you can do that simply by, for example, if I'm in projects, I click into projects, you want to make sure you clicked into the actual database response. I say that because sometimes there's a side view and it doesn't actually give you the full information that you're going to look for. So the reason why you need to be in this page is because you need this key. So before the question mark, you need this key, this 29ED12, all the way up to that question mark. You need to copy that, and that'll be your API that you'll need to input into your script. Again, there'll be my article will outline this. I'm showing you exactly what the keys look like so that you know what they look like in the current state. I am recording this October, oh no, it's November 2nd, 2025. So again, this can change. When I was working through this automation, I had trying to find the API keys. The documentation was a little bit outdated, so it took me a little bit to find it. So um, if you are running into any issues, like you're getting any 404s or any integration connections that aren't generating, just make sure that you double check everything that's connected, because it's if you run into any issues, it's usually going to be um, something is not lining up with your properties in your script, so that one-to-one isn't there. And usually it's an extra space, or something's misspelled, or something's not capitalized, or you're not capturing the right key for your APIs and your secret tokens. So if you have any issues, please reach out. More than happy to help where I can. And thanks everyone. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to review this video and staying for Automation Mondays. Talk to you guys all soon. Bye.